Yes, guys, make sure you're following the GBFC Telegram. The link is in the top of the description. In the end of this month, I'm going to be giving away one of my exclusive GBFC hoodies with only 100 of them made. Coming to you guys on sale soon. As well as that, we've got a signed shirt by none other than Chelsea's main man, Cole Palmer. If you're not in the Telegram, you can't win. Link at the top of the description. Let's get cracking. Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel for your second video of the day. If you do want to go and see the Chelsea news from earlier on this morning, UK time, make sure you go and check out the top link in the description. As well as that, I am back doing a travel vlog again. If you want to see my girlfriend and I in the north of Bali on a little adventure, the link to that video is also in the description, as well as Shootout and the GBFC Telegram. There's plenty of stuff going on. We're back in full workflow. We're back in the office. And this video is 3 things that I think Pochettino needs to do to keep his job come the end of this season. I don't want this to be a hyper-negative video. Chelsea have won their last 2 matches. And Pochettino, as much as I do think he's bringing a lot of the issues upon himself with some of his decision-making, in-game management, there are massive improvements that need to be made. But I'm going to talk about the 3 things that I think are the most important. One of them is not necessarily about individuals, but just collective something that needs to change. The other one is a Pochettino problem. And the third one is the player that I think is going to be the most important to potentially change Chelsea's fortunes come the end of the season. And it's not somebody that you would expect. It's not Nkunku. It's not Cole Palmer. Stay tuned to the end of the video to find out who I think should be the man that we start to really believe in and call upon to deliver Chelsea from 10th place in the Premier League, which right now, we look at the Premier League table, we're 10th in it, it's not great. We look below us, and there are certain teams that are on an upward curve. You've got your likes of Bournemouth, Wolves, these guys are doing well, Fulham as well, who could potentially be Carabao Cup finalists against Chelsea if we can get through. Middlesbrough, there are a lot of good teams here that could catch us, but there are also teams above us that are falling. You got Newcastle on an incredibly bad run that some are even saying Eddie Howe should be sacked. You got Manchester United, the most inconsistent team, but they win certain games and then they just look awful. You got Gary Neville every other week saying that he doesn't know what he's watching anymore. Then you got West Ham and Brighton. You've got chaseable teams above us. So there is a world here where Chelsea, without getting too carried away, I know we've only won 2 in a row and it was Palace and Luton and we struggled against both. But there is a world here where Chelsea's season can look very different come the end of it. And the first point that absolutely needs to change here for Pochettino to be backed, for the players to have confidence in him, for the fans to have confidence, the board, is the mentality of the team. When Chelsea are winning 3-0 away at Luton like we were the other day, I've been thinking about the way that we capitulated at the end ever since it happened. It was one of those where I actually want to just revel in a Chelsea win. I want to see us with a complete professional performance. That doesn't mean that we blow teams away. It doesn't mean that we're scoring 3, 4, 5 goals every single match. I want to be able to sit there and be gassed that we've actually put in a performance that, even if we don't have the age, shows maturity. And I think the mentality improvements is the number one thing that we need to get used to here. It looked as though in that match against Luton, it was like Chelsea as an entity had imposter syndrome. We're 3-0 up and we're not used to being 3 goals ahead, so therefore, as a result of it, we're going to doubt our abilities and just capitulate and not give up, because we certainly didn't give up. We dug in and we still got the win. But overall, it is some kind of negative mentality where you concede 1 goal, you don't quite take it seriously enough. There's not enough players looking around at one another, giving the eyes stay on. And you've got players like Thiago Silva at the end of the game livid that despite winning the match, he knows that we almost bottled what would have ended up being a famous result for Luton and famously embarrassing for Chelsea. So the mentality needs to massively improve. And that isn't just about being ahead and then caving and giving away goals and making things way more difficult than it should be. The mentality is also about when we do go 1-0 down away from home like we did against Wolves the day before Christmas on Christmas Eve. We've also got to have a bit of steel and grit about us to not be relying on individual brilliance from a Cole Palmer or a Christopher Nkunku, and many are hanging the hat saying he's going to be the difference maker. We shouldn't be looking at individuals to drag us from the mud. There needs to be a collective responsibility within this team that I think should be instilled by the manager, where there needs to be an acceptance that we've not been good enough. There needs to be massive improvements, and collectively, the mentality needs to shift. Chelsea need to become a team of battlers and fighters where if we don't have all the ability to outperform teams game after game right now, yes, we create a load of chances, but we don't score them. That's not the important part. The important part is actually the fight, the determination, and the ability to grind out results when we're not playing well, which is going to have to be something that we get used to whilst this team remains young, immature, and in transition. We have to know how to win ugly and not make it more difficult than it should be. Point number 2 is the Pochettino point that massively needs to improve here. And again, we have to caveat it. There's been so many injuries this season to so many key players in so many positions that at times Pochettino has had no choice but to play certain players out of position. Pochettino, now that your Ben Chilwells are coming back, Malo Gusto is back, there are players coming back from injury, just play players in their natural positions. When you look at some of the goals that Chelsea have conceded, a lot of the time it is down to players positionally being in the wrong places because they are being asked to do something in the most hectic, chaotic league in the world that they just can't keep up to the pace with it. And that isn't just about playing against your Liverpools, your Man Cities, your Arsenals, your Spurs this season. That is about any team in this Premier League can hurt you when they're organised, when there are players that are well drilled and know where they need to be playing and what they should be doing on the field. For Chelsea, the fact that we have been playing players out of position, particularly in the fullback areas, has been a massive reason as to why we've struggled so much. One thing I do like that we have seen from Pochettino is Alfie Gilchrist has been coming on a couple of times. This guy looks like a warrior. He looks like a proper Chelsea defender. John Terry has said it himself. I think that Pochettino has identified that Axel Disasi at right back is not a great shout. Disasi is not competent and comfortable playing in that right back position. So what we've seen to close out that game against Luton, Alfie Gilchrist is brought on and he's basically playing as a right back. So what I want to see from Pochettino, if you're going to take Alfie Gilchrist as a centre-back and play him at right-back, then that needs to be something that is an identifiable issue that Disasi ain't good enough, so you back the youngster. I'm not just going to put Gilchrist in the team because he's been at Chelsea since he was a kid. He's Chelsea blood. He's like John Terry and all this stuff. No. Pochettino is in a position here where people are looking at him and they're asking questions. Is this guy good enough to take Chelsea from 10th to a European place and grow? At the start of the season, we're looking at Poch and we're like, this guy knows how to nurture young players. He knows how to work with young players, a young squad. This is the perfect manager for this project. At this point in the season, we're bang midway through, almost, give or take one extra game, and we are mid-table, and that's not where we should be, having spent the money that we've spent. And I do think it is up to Poch now to just work on each player in the areas of the field that they should be playing in and play those players in those positions. Have faith in those players. And yes, maybe some of them, like your Alfie Gilchrist, will need to be moulded into something else. But for Pochettino, it's the easiest thing for us to criticise. When we keep chopping and changing something week in, week out, and players are out of position and then at fault for goals that we concede, that's a massive problem, and that falls on the head of the manager. And if it keeps happening, and we keep seeing repetitive mistakes over and over again, then there will be questions asked about Poch if things don't improve between now and the end of the season. I'm still in the same position that I don't see anyone else on the market good enough and ready enough to come in and take the Chelsea job from Poch right now. And we've won 2 games in a row. So I'm not going to sit here and be overtly negative for the sake of it for a YouTube video. Point number 3. This player is a player that I think is about to explode at Chelsea once again if Maurizio Pochettino gives him the minutes and plays him in the right position and gives him the right instructions. And that player, ladies and gentlemen, is Mudryk. I've got a little feeling that Mudryk, I've watched him ever since he joined Chelsea. When I look at Mudryk, I look at a player who absolutely believes deep down from the social media posts, from the training videos, that he has all of the innate raw ability in the world to be a world-beating, top-quality, potentially world-class footballer. When he's been on the pitch for Chelsea, we've been struggling as a collective, and I think he burdens so much of that upon himself because there is this impetus that because he's an explosive, quick, decisive player, we're asking him to be that in the final third. When he doesn't do it, I think the burden of that pressure has been overwhelming for Mudryk. I then see the relief on his face when he finally scores goals. I see the recent form that he's had where he's getting into positions that are actually enabling him to utilize what he's confident in, which I wouldn't say that Mudryk is necessarily confident at running and taking players on and using that speed to burn past players. That is the surface layer of what you'd expect him to be able to do. What I think Mudryk is good at is something that Eden Hazard did so well. And just hold fire. I'm not just saying he's Eden Hazard reincarnated. No. What Hazard was so brilliant at was being a winger who drawed players to that side because they were so worried about what he could do and what he will do if he gets the ball, but is most dangerous when he comes inside. And I think that is going to be so key for Chelsea in the second half of this season, and it will be facilitated by the continued brilliance of Cole Palmer and his movement, but Christopher Nkunku will enable Mudryk to actually find these positions more often, with less pressure, less marking, with less attention being spent on him from opposition defenders. So Christopher Nkunku, I think, will be a facilitator for enabling Mudryk to grow in importance and to impose himself massively, not only on the Premier League, but on this Chelsea team in general. And I think if Chelsea are going to finish in, let's say 6th place is like a really ambitious goal right now. I don't want you to get pissed off with me here for saying, well, you're stupid. You said the other day we're not. I know. We're still 10th. We're still 6 points off 6th. But I think that if we could finish 6th from this position, that would be fantastic. And I think Mudryk, if he can build on the confidence that he looks like he's growing with, and the importance and all the things I just said about where he finds himself in the final third, then I really think he could be the key for Chelsea to shoot up the table. And that is based on the idea that maybe we don't sign that elite striker in this window because we're either outpriced or the striker signs a pre-contractual agreement and joins in the summer. Watch this space. I think Cole Palmer and Nkunku are the world-class players that will facilitate in the second half of this season Mykhailo Mudryk exploding in this Chelsea team and onto the rest of the Premier League. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. We have got Preston in the FA Cup at Stamford Bridge this weekend. We've got to be looking at that as an opportunity to get into the 4th round of a big domestic competition. Stay tuned. Tomorrow morning, there's going to be the Chelsea news video that you will see every day in the month of January in your sub box or notifications on your phone, wherever you watch these videos. Subscribe if you are new. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this one. Thoughts in the comments as always. Come on, you Blues.